Once upon a time, the Fortnite Battle Royale map was nowhere near as cool as it is today. There were no frozen tundras, meteor impact sites, or giant erupting volcanoes. Just a few locations scattered around the map for people to enjoy, with the vast hilly areas and the small townhouses. But believe it or not, there are still some of those scattered locations that have survived the passage of time and all of the updates. Welcome back to Top 5 Gaming, everyone, where today we're going to be exploring the top 5 Fortnite locations that are unchanged from Season 1. We want to quickly remind you to use code T5G in the item shop when purchasing any of the new skins, but without further ado, let's get right into the number 5 spot. Number 5 is Pleasant Park. Located up in the northwest of the month is a humble town that, while host to some of the coolest events of the game, has remained pretty much unchanged since the first season of Fortnite. Pleasant Park has seen some minor changes over the past few years, but they were only ever temporary. In Season 6, the soccer field in the middle of the town was changed into an American football field, and in Season 7, it was host to the history-making Marshmallow concert. But apart from that, it's pretty much the same as it's always been. Pleasant Park is full of loot. There are 11 buildings to choose from when you drop into the location, and spread out across those buildings are a total of 17 chests. Because of its healthy distribution of lootable chests and buildings, Pleasant Park has always been a high-traffic area. Even after new places have been added to the map, this could be good or bad depending on how you like to play the game, but if you're going for kills, Pleasant is a great place to land. Not only that, but its location on the map makes it perfect for rotating around to some pretty high-value locations. Pleasant is close to Loot Lake, Tilted Towers, and in Season 8, and is even sort of close to the newly added Lazy Lagoon. It's pretty simple to loot up in Pleasant Park before rotating around to one of those other high-value areas to clean up whoever's left alive. The Fortnite map has changed massively since Season 1, especially over the last 3 seasons. We now have a desert biome in the southeast, an Arctic biome in the southwest, and a tropical volcanic biome in the northeast of the map. In each of these seasons, a corner of the map has undergone a massive rework to be more interesting, and so far, Pleasant Park's location is the only area of the map to be ignored by these sweeping changes. The area is in for some tough love and care, and while Pleasant Park itself is a well-loved classic area, it's safe to say that it will probably end up being massively reworked in Season 9. And in at number 4, we've got Salty Springs. Salty Springs didn't actually receive its name until the second season of Fortnite got underway, but it's been around since the very beginning. Located near the middle of the map, just a little south of Dusty Divot, Salty Springs is yet another residential area on the Fortnite map. It's much smaller than an area like Pleasant Park, but because of its central location, it always gets a lot of traffic. There haven't really been any changes in this location other than the secret bunker that was added under the blue house as part of Season 4, but during the Christmas event in Season 7, the area also got a festive makeover, featuring a whole bunch of Christmas decorations. Salty Springs has a total of 12 chests from people to loot from, which is a pretty small number when you consider how many people always drop there. Being located right in the middle of Fortnite Battle Royale means that there are plenty of rotation routes for people to take after looting, and it's very easy to get to and from the battle bus almost regardless of where it flies. That means that Salty is always going to be packed, and if you're up for a fight, then landing there is a great idea, but finding loot is always going to be a coin toss, so you might want to give this location a miss if you aren't very good at dropping. While Salty Springs is one of the most popular drop locations on the map, it's also probably one of the most overrated locations on the map. With only 12 chests and 6 buildings, there just isn't enough loot to go around for the amount of people that always drop there, meaning fights in this area are usually a little bit more random than in other areas of the map. It's basically a coin flip. When Epic put the bunker under the blue house, it seemed like at the time they may have had a plan to upgrade the area further, but then they didn't. Salty needs a bit of rework, just because of how little loot there actually is there. A location that's nearly in the center of the map should have way more chests than Salty does. But at number 3, we've got Lonely Lodge. The name Lonely Lodge fits the area pretty well. Way out on the eastern edge of the Fortnite Battle Royale island, Lonely Lodge is probably one of the least popular locations for people to drop. Lonely Lodge is one of the biggest areas in the map, sprawling out across 4 different squares on the map grid. It has one big building and multiple smaller ones, is surrounded by trees, and features a big tower for long-range vision. If this area was anywhere else on the map, it would probably end up being pretty popular, but because it's way out on the edge in an area where you can only make 3 different rotations, most people look over the area as somewhere that should never be visited. When it comes to loot, Lonely Lodge is actually a pretty average location. It has a total of 14 chests spread out across the area, though when you consider how big that area actually is, you start to realize that it isn't really that impressive. Lonely Lodge is the sort of location that you would drop to if you really wanted to gear up before taking on any other players, and you know it's going to be quiet unless there's a challenge that requires people to land there, so you're pretty much guaranteed to have almost all chests and trees for yourself. It's still kind of a risky drop though, because if the storm closes in on the opposite side of the map, you're going to have a long way to travel through plenty of dangerous areas, but Lonely Lodge is one of those locations that actually has has a fair amount of potential, and while it may be on the far side of the map, it's a big enough area that if the right changes are made, it could end up being extremely popular. Unlike some of the smaller locations in the game, Epic would have a lot of ground to work with if they chose to update Lonely Lodge, which could lead to some pretty interesting gameplay. And unfortunately, the area right next to Lonely Lodge, which is now a giant volcano, only just got updated. The chances of Epic returning to this area with another major rework so soon isn't very likely, but in at number 2, we've got Retail Row. Epic Games really seem to enjoy keeping their Season 1 urban areas the same, and Retail Row is no exception to that. Located in the east of the Battle Royale map, this residential area is one of the biggest areas in the game. There are plenty of houses and stores to explore, and the area is so close to the middle of the map that it also has some of the most rotations in the entirety of the game. This does mean that Retail Row is often one of the busiest locations in the game, so you should probably only ever drop there if you're looking for a fight. With a total of 20 chests spread across Retail Row, way above average, there's usually enough loot to be spread across the large numbers of people that drop there. This means that you're almost always guaranteed a weapon if you drop retail, but so is everyone else, which can complicate your early game quite a bit if you aren't prepared. The only changes Retail Row has seen since it was added in Season 1 are cosmetic alterations. Sometimes the shops put up different decorations depending on the seasonal event at the time, and in Season 7, a new Pete's Pizza replaced a small playground. Seems like Epic are content to leave retail the way it is, save for some small additions every now and then, and to be honest, that's probably a good thing. I mean, sure, retail may not be quite as popular as somewhere like Tilted Towers, but it's popular enough that Epic probably doesn't see it as a priority right now and see it as a location that could bother a lot of people if they decided to remove it or change it too much. In at number 1, we've got Fatal Fields. Fatal Fields is another really large part of the map that was added back in the first season of the game. It was almost like Epic Games knew that they didn't have enough areas to fill up the map at the time, so they made huge locations like Lonely Lodge and Fatal Fields to take up as much space as possible. With its 3 farmland fields, multiple stables, and a big farmyard house, you would think that this expansive location would be pretty popular, but really, it's pretty overlooked. The area is far south, but not south enough to be completely useless. It has some rotation opportunities, but not enough for it to be incredible. The area is really average, and that's heavily reflected by the amount of people that choose to go there. But if you decide to drop in Fatal Fields, you may end up getting lucky because there's a fair amount of loot to be found. The number of chests in the area is actually slightly above average, coming in at 17 total. Considering how overlooked the area tends to be, that will end up being more than enough to kit out your whole squad. It's pretty much a coin flip whether anyone else will land there. Basically, you never really know what you're going to end up with if you drop down into Fatal Fields. But honestly, I think it would be a shame if they ended up getting rid of Fatal Fields for something different. Once upon a time, there were 2 farms on the Fortnite map, Fatal Fields and Anarchy Acres. Only eventually, Anarchy Acres was replaced by the Lazy Links Golf Course, which was replaced again in Season 8 by the Lazy Lagoon. While Fatal Fields may be the most average location on the map, it also managed to survive pretty much unchanged. And the changes it did see were cool and seasonal. I mean, who could forget using the court as a sneaky way to escape engagements during the Halloween season? Fortnite kind of needs some average areas to drop, and Fatal Fields fills that role perfectly. But that has been our list of the top 5 Fortnite locations unchanged since Season 1. Drop a like on the video if you've enjoyed, subscribe to the channel if you're new, push notifications on, be sure to use code T5G in the item shop if you're purchasing a new skin. Other than that, we hope you have a wonderful day and keep it here on Top 5 Gaming.